quick little scrape on these guys. Well, they're easy to get to. This one's really too big. So we'll just lapse through this. I'm just gonna anti-seize the hub, put the rotor on, and then we'll move on to the caliper and carrier and then the flex line. Alright, so the caliper carrier bracket bolts are supposed to be 80 to 89 foot-pounds, so I'm just going to put them in the middle at 85. I'll do them in 2 stages, probably 50, and then we'll do 40 and then 85. It's 40. 85. And that's got the carrier secure now. And then we'll put the pads in here. With some anti-seize. Alright, so pads are in place. Last thing before we can put the caliper on, other than a bit of anti-seize on those surfaces, is to do the lining wear sensor here. I can't find any documentation with the pads or anything specific in the manual to say how it's supposed to go, but as far as I can tell, on the inner pad, which I've already put on, this little dowel with the ring clip in it pops into here from the inside. Seems to be the only place that it fits, and it seems to stay. And then when the padding, or when the lining gets low enough that it wears through the plastic and wears through this wire, then the plug is no longer seeing a closed circuit, and we'll put the lining light on the dash. So that's how I'm going to do it. As far as I can tell, that's the only way it would work. If something comes up and I figure out that it doesn't work or there's another way, I'll be sure to mention that at the time. But for now, we can put this sensor into the pad that's on there, just like this. Alright, and we gotta fish that wire through the caliper as it goes on. Take these caliper guide pin bolts out of here now. Put some anti-seize on the backs of the pads. And then let's do the caliper bolts first. Without getting it all over myself. Set that down now, but that's a separate issue. Maybe I'll hang on to that one for the minute. Okay. I'm going to try with one hand here to feed the I have anti-seize on my watch. Great. Feed the sensor through there and get the caliper up towards where it needs to be here. Get one bolt started at least. that beauty. NTC is off my watch before it goes everywhere else. Alright. And what's the bottom doing? Just like that. Bottom into place against the spring tension on the pads. And just like that, we've got new TRW brake pads installed, the brake lining sensor to hopefully clear the light on the dash. There's one on the rear as well to install when we get the back put together. The plug on the car, the one terminal is looking pretty cheesy, so hopefully it'll work. If not, we may have to look into that at another point. I think this is supposed to do something like this. This wire's just been zip tied out of the way by the previous owner for who knows how long, because I'm sure they didn't bother to put pads on that had a new lining sensor. That's mostly together. No idea where it's supposed to hook. Maybe it's in this little thing right here. No idea. Look at that. Perfect. Okay, and the caliper guide pin mounting bolts, the ones I just put in there, are supposed to be 20 to 25 foot-pounds. I'm going to do them at 25. And that is a 14. Using the big torque wrench, not what I want to be using, but I still have not replaced my small foot-pound torque wrench. Come on now. One. There's two. And that, I'm gonna have to do something different with that lining sensor, I think, because it's probably gonna scrub the rim, which is not gonna be any good. So we'll take a closer look at that when we're ready to put a wheel on. But the next thing is to try and get the old flex line off of the solid line, or the hard line here, and get that old caliper out of the way, and then we can put new flex line on from the hard line to the new caliper, provided that the hard line on the car is still okay and we can get it undone without breaking any part of that. So that's the next thing.
So the flex line to the caliper manual says 7 to 12 foot-pounds. I'm just going to go in the middle at 10. So I've got 3/8 drive torque wrench set to the equivalent of 10 foot-pounds, and I've just got a combination wrench, and I'm just going to feel how much tension that takes and then use the wrench to tighten the line up, because you can't really torque it. And I'll put some anti-seize on the thread so that if I ever do want to get it apart in the future, I can. Okay. Wow, that seems awfully stiff. Holy smokes. Quality of machining of the threads is not there. That's to be expected when they're coming from China. So that's come to a stop. Alright, so I'm actually going to try something different for torquing here. Got a crow's foot, and we figured out recently that if you keep your torque wrench at 90 degrees to the crow foot, it doesn't change the torque value that's applied. My understanding always up to this point was that using one of these changes the torque number that's actually being applied to the fastener, so you got to be careful with adjusting your numbers. But I'm going to try this one at 90 degrees. I'm set to 120 inch-pounds, which is our 10 foot-pounds, and we'll see what happens here. I can't get it on all the way, but yep, there we go, that's better. Go to the next one. Can I do it? The caliper's in the way. Bleeder screw is right in the way, of course. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it or not. I guess for now I could actually take the bleeder screw out. Okay, that should give us more room. There we go. Okay, let's see how this goes. Certainly not very much. But if it starts leaking, we can add more. Alright, and then the hard line trick is going to be to get it apart and changed over without losing a bunch of fluid, and also put some anti-seize on the threads of that original nut. So I think to do that, I'll put this bleeder screw back in right now before I forget and get dirt in there. Okay, I think I'm going to put anti-seize in the female end of the flex line first, so we can just stuff it together, and I've got a new spring clip for up there. Here. And that's going to be, we don't need that anymore. Okay, let's put some anti-seize in this first. Hopefully, without getting it in the flare as well. It's decent, it's got some in there. Okay, see if we can do this without losing all the fluid. I should also check if we still have fluid in the master. There was. some fluid showing. That's free. Just try and keep the dirt out of it. Flex line. Oh, should do that. That's the old caliper off as well. That's probably gonna leak fluid all over everywhere. Okay, then we gotta try and put this together here. I'll need a new spring clip first too. That's gonna be fun. Oh, there goes that. New spring clip. There we go. Put that back down in there. Shove this up through here. Do up the nut. And this should be 14 as well. There a bit. There we go, folks. New flex line is installed, new calipers installed. I may come back and do a final torquing on that hard line. That's got a new spring clip on there, and the nut appears to be in good shape still, so this should be pretty well wrapped up, and we didn't lose that much fluid. So basically we're going to repeat the exact same thing we did on this side on the other side of the car next, and I'll just time lapse it as we go. We'll do the bearing on the rotor and the new caliper, carrier pads, flex line, and then the front of the car is pretty much wrapped up until we're ready to put it back on the ground. Alright, so we've now got the second side of the front buttoned up. New carrier caliper pads, machine rotor, new wheel bearing and hub, and new soft flex line up to the hard line on the car, which still seems to be in good shape. So we're just going to leave that be for now, unless it starts leaking when we try to bleed later on. So that's pretty much got the front wrapped up, minus torquing those bearings once the car is back on the ground, and putting the locking flange into the slot, and then the dust cap back on both sides, and of course bleeding the brakes. I haven't done any bleeding yet. I will probably start by just gravity bleeding, and all that means is while I'm working on the rest of the car, I'll open the bleeder screws on the front and just let gravity work the fluid through, push the air out of the caliper. It'll still need proper bleeding with the brake pedal later, but it'll get it most of the way. So we'll let that happen later on while we're working on the back half of the car. And then the only other thing for the front for right now to get it on the road is the sway bar brackets and bushings. That one, as you can see on the front part there, is completely separated from the subframe. So that's got to be replaced. I've got new brackets and bushings. Hopefully they're the right ones. So before the car gets set on the ground, we will replace those as well. Other than that, we're, like I said, pretty much done up front here. Everything's torqued for the caliper and the carrier. I have new rotor screws coming, so I just put that in there for now. On the other side, same thing, just to hold the rotor in place so that I could put the brakes together. When those come in, I'll swap the bolts out. And then, yeah, other than that, the wheels can go on once I figure out what wheels those are going to be. And then when we finally get the floor pan done and the brake lines done in the back, we can look at getting towards setting the car back on the ground. So stay tuned, we got lots more to do here, hopefully in a shorter period of time.